Hello, I'm Andrew Pearce and this is The Daily Show from the Daily Mail newsroom. Coming up, Coca Cola has sparked fury from environmental campaigners. They're refusing to ditch single-use plastic bottles. Whatever are they thinking of? Guess who's setting up more businesses than any other age categories? The over 70s, the silver surfers. And if you've got a sleep app on your telephone, you know what? It may just be ruining your sleep. I'll tell you more. Thomas Markle has broken his silence. Again, he's given an interview to Channel 5 all about his daughter, Meghan, and Prince Charles is in Davos talking about a subject dear to his heart, the environment, and he may even get to meet Greta Thunberg. Well, the royals have been all over the news in the last few weeks, thanks to the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, who are now reunited in Vancouver. They've stepped back from royal duties. In fact, they have no royal duties to do anymore. In the best traditions of the firm, though, it appears to be business as usual today. Prince Charles has delivered a keynote speech today at Davos, the World Economic Forum, on one of his favourite subjects, the environment. Robert Hardman, the Mail's peerless royal commentator, was watching and joins me now. Robert, this is a subject incredibly close to his heart, a subject his supporters would say he was way ahead of his time on. What's he been saying?
Well, the Prince is actually was curiously a bit reluctant to go to Davos because he knows that when world leaders go there and start sort of preaching on saving the planet, they're open to the charge of hypocrisy. And he didn't really want to do that, but he hasn't been to Davos now for nearly 30 years. And he was heading in that direction anyway, and they were very keen to hear him because, as you say, he's been someone who's been in the forefront of this conversation for many years.
He's not exactly Extinction Rebellion, is he? He's not taken to the barricades.
No, he's not sort of a sort of hardcore green eco warrior, but he's been definitely on the side of the angels in the green debate for longer than almost anybody. So he arrives at Davos today with a considerable degree of respect from everybody else. So he's actually going to meet Greta Thunberg at some point. Is on the cards. But so he's there really in his capacity as one of the sort of best known public figures in international public life who's got sort of credibility on this issue.
And he's then going on straight from there on behalf of the government and the Queen, of course, to Israel. Now, what's that about?
Well, this will be the most high-profile royal visit to Israel ever. It's always been an area of great sensitivity for security reasons, for diplomatic reasons. There are all the issues surrounding recognition of whether it's Tel Aviv or Jerusalem as a capital. Diplomats have always been a bit wary of sending the Queen there because there's just so much diplomatic complications tied up in it. But the Prince of Wales has always been very keen to go there, not least because his grandmother is buried there. Prince Philip's mother, Princess Alice, famously a nun in Greece during the war, where she protected a Jewish family from the Nazis and was posthumously awarded the great honour Yad Vashem, righteous among Gentiles, is buried in Jerusalem. And the Prince has always been very keen to pay proper respects to her. And so it's going to be a very important, very moving trip for him. But crucially, he's not going there that's not the primary purpose. The main reason for his visit is to mark Holocaust Day, which comes up at the beginning of next week, and to mark the 75th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz. And it's a very somber, very poignant few days because the Prince will be in Israel. Then on Monday, the Duchess of Cornwall is going to be at Auschwitz. I hope to be there with her myself for the anniversary, actually at Auschwitz-Birkenau, the ghastly railhead. I mean, it's just
it'll be so poignant, won't it?
It's the most appalling place. Everybody should go there. Yeah. Everybody should see it.
Agreed.
I mean, I was there for the 70th and indeed for the 60th anniversaries, and it's just these occasions are incredibly moving, and amazingly, over 100 survivors are going to be there. World leaders. There are one or two monarchs. President of Germany is going to be there as well. So it's a big event. And the Duchess will be there representing the Queen. And then at the same time, you'll have the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, William and Kate, will be honouring the British end with the Holocaust Memorial Day events here in London. So you're going to have all these major royals doing and recognising this crucial part of history in the days ahead. And I think it's a reminder that, yes, we've fixated on Harry and Meghan's domestic problems for the last few days, but actually when you see the sort of events that Charles, Camilla, William and Kate are all going to be at in the next few days, actually it does put things in perspective, and it does remind us what monarchy is for and what we expect of our royal family.
It puts in a rather unfortunate contrast for Harry and Meghan, actually, because who knows, as we speak, they may be sorting out a deal to raise money to pay for their lifestyle, as you say, when Big Brother is doing his stuff to mark Holocaust Memorial Day.
Well, I think if Harry and Meghan had not opted out of royal life, I'm sure they'd be playing a part in some of these commemorations too. Now that they're no longer royal, that's not going to happen. But I think at times like this, it's important for, as it were, the sort of fringe members of the family not to try and upstage what what Royal HQ is trying to do. And in this case, this is very important, serious commemorations honouring the victims of the greatest atrocity in history and doing their bit to ensure that we never forget what happened and try and ensure it never happens again.
Robert Hardman, thanks for joining me. Now, if you enjoy The Daily Show, please subscribe to us and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Google or Spotify. And if you want to get in touch, and I hope you do, email me at dailyshow@mailplus.co.uk, or you follow us at mailplus_. The Duchess of Sussex's estranged father, Thomas Markle, has given a tell-all interview on Channel 5 tonight. In a teaser clip, Mr. Markle says he wants to apologise to the Queen, and he fears he'll never speak to his daughter, or Prince Harry, who he's never spoken to anyway, again. He also accuses his daughter and son-in-law of quitting the royal family for money.
It's disappointing because she actually got every girl's dream. Every young girl wanted to become a princess, and she got that. And now she's tossing that away it looks like she's tossing it away for money.
He also said their decision to walk away from the royal family is cheapening the royal brand.
They're turning it into a Walmart with a crown on it now. It's something that's ridiculous. They shouldn't be doing this.
So how damaging will this be to the Sussexes and their own brand, Sussex Royals, as they want to be known? Will they or anybody else really care what Mr. Markle says? Joining me to discuss this is the royal commentator, Richard Fitzwilliam. Richard, can he cause any more damage to Meghan and Harry?
He can't cause much, if any, more damage in tonight's programme because, very broadly, I mean, he's been the father from hell for Meghan because so much of the problems between them he has brought out into the public arena in television interviews and so forth. But this documentary, I mean, obviously it will be embarrassing, but there in Canada, it's here. He's done pretty well whatever damage he's able to do so far for the time being. But this is a completely different situation if the case that Meghan is bringing against the Mail on Sunday for the publication of a private letter to her father, which he shared with the newspaper, if that went ahead and if Thomas Markle appeared in the witness box to back the Mail on Sunday, I mean, that would be she would be breaking, still a member of the royal family, she'd be breaking the ultimate royal rule: do not go to court and actually appear.
But of the documentary, there will be some people, Richard, of course, who will be sympathetic to Dad because he didn't get to see his daughter get married. He's never met Harry, and he's yet again saying that his daughter's in it for what she can get.
Oh, I mean, there's no question. It's a very strange business. One feels because originally it has been said that Thomas Markle and his daughter were close-knit. I mean, the parents divorced, Dorian and Thomas divorced when Meghan was 2, but of course she learned the craft or love of the craft, as a father was the lighting director of Hollywood, on the sets with him. And there's no doubt that at some point they were probably for some years pretty close. On the other hand, there's no question that it wasn't really explained why Harry didn't meet Thomas Markle. I understand that they did speak briefly, but the point is they didn't actually meet, and then, of course, fatefully, whilst he was supposedly going to appear at her wedding, there's no question that the fact that he used a paparazzi photographer, apparently on the advice of Samantha, who, of course, hates Meghan, her stepsister, I mean, there's absolutely no doubt at all that was toxic when it came to Harry and Meghan. So it's that particularly, he's apologized for it, but the problem is he does tend to talk on TMZ, on Good Morning Britain, and so forth, on Us Weekly, and everything is conducted since he can't. I mean, they're strange now. Yeah. Everything is conducted through the media. So, of course, I mean, he might speculate in Harry's views on Trump or Brexit or whatever, or an embarrassing topic. It seems completely over between them, but of course, this may, as I mentioned, resurface. I mean, I think tonight we will have, he will be extremely critical of her, and the war mark with a crown on it is a sort of turn of phrase that people remember.
It may just
far
stick.
From pleasant.
Very good. That's the royal commentator, Richard Fitzwilliam. You know my view on Thomas Markle and Meghan Markle. Only Prince Harry could have married into a family almost as dysfunctional as the royal family. Now, if you want to get in touch, you email me at dailyshow@mailplus.co.uk, or you follow us at mailplus_. Coca Cola have really upset the apple cart by refusing to ditch single-use plastic bottles. Now, the firm produces a whopping 3 million tonnes of plastic packaging a year. That's equivalent to 200,000 bottles a minute. But Coca Cola say scrapping the plastic would alienate customers who appreciate the lightweight bottles, which can be resealed. A global audit by Break Free from Plastic last year showed Coca Cola as the world's top plastic polluter, with Nestle and PepsiCo close behind. Joining me now is Sian Sutherland, who is co-founder of a Plastic Planet campaign group. Sian, what do you make of this? Very disappointing?
Good afternoon. Yes, I think highly disappointing. And I hate to say, not at all surprising.
That was the other question.
It's yet another example of Coca-Cola not stepping up, not owning up. It's only last year, that they actually were persuaded by Greenpeace to fess up to the number of plastic bottles they pumped out every year. It's 120 billion plastic bottles every single year, for which they have no responsibility once they have left their factory, gone into the retailers, come through, our hands. They have no responsibility for the devastation that this plastic is causing our environment and our own health.
And how much damage is it causing the environment, Sian, would you estimate? I mean, Coca-Cola themselves, how much damage?
Well, if you think every piece of plastic, since we've invented plastic, every piece of plastic, unless it's been burnt, which causes, greenhouse gases, as we know, we're burning a fossil fuel, every piece of plastic still exists on the planet today. Just the plastic bottle alone, we make enough bottles every single year to do 100 round trips to the moon. So when you're looking at something that is so indestructible, so toxic, degrades down to these highly dangerous, highly toxic microplastics and nanoplastics that we now know are in our own food chain, I don't know how Coca-Cola can say, but the public want us to continue. It's a madness.
I suppose they make so much money, Sian. They're so powerful. They simply don't seem to care so much about the potential PR damage this could do them, because I guess they assume their loyal customers will keep on buying.
I think you're right. And wouldn't it be wonderful if we actually decided we've had enough? And, we need a big company to really start to feel the impact of the public's anger that nothing is changing fast enough. Plastic bottle production was up 7% last year. So, look what the Daily Mail have been doing with the bag campaign, David Attenborough with Blue Planet 2. This is years of campaigning now, and yet plastic is up. We're actually forecast to have almost 4 times as much plastic produced every year in the next 10 years. So nothing is slowing down, and the only way that these big brands are going to pay any attention is if sales start dropping. So really, we think we've got no power as shoppers, as individual members of the public. But if we all came together and said, that's it, we're no longer going to buy Coke in a plastic bottle. Feel free, if you want to buy a can, buy a can. At least it goes into a recycling system. 71% of all aluminium ever mined is still in use today. Basically 0 of any plastic is still in use today. That's the difference.
All right, Sean. Well, that's Sean Sutherland, co-founder of A Plastic Planet, the campaign group. Astonishing, isn't it, that Coca-Cola is simply not paying any attention to. And our very own campaign on the Daily Mail, Turn the Tide. Now, coming up, why are more people than ever starting up businesses in their later years? And could ditching the sleeping app be the answer to a better night's sleep? But first, it's time to find out what's on TV tonight with Claudia Connell.
Thanks, Andrew. Well, there's a lovely new series on tonight, Spy in the Wild on BBC One.
A touch is an invitation to get to know each other. But is it all too good to be true? The great silverback. Here, he's the boss. Spy Gorilla won't be welcomed without his say-so.
The BBC gets a lot of flack, but they do wildlife programmes very well. The first series of Spy in the Wild was lovely, and it's back now for a second run. So what happens is there are hidden cameras that are camouflaged as other things like birds, shrubs, fruit, etc. And they're planted in the natural habitat of animals to see how they live. And that's it, really. But there's some lovely footage. It's simple and it's effective. And David Tennant is the narrator, and he's very good. And then a little bit less cheery, White House Farm on ITV. Steve and Graham's dodgy Welsh accent aside, I'm really enjoying this drama about a true life crime. We're halfway through now, and tonight we see how, for a man that's lost all of his family, Jeremy Bamber seems to be curiously unperturbed and is embracing his party lifestyle with his new inheritance. The extended family convinced that he is the killer, but all they need to do now is just get the police in their corner. Portrait Artist of the Year is back for a new series on Sky Arts.
A keen eye, a steady hand, and the challenge of capturing a famous face.
That's pretty comfortable. Might need a cushion.
Can mean only one thing.
It's Portrait Artist of the Year 2020.
This is one of these really sort of quiet, lovely shows that for whatever reason just seems to chime with people. And it's become a bit of an unexpected hit in the same way that the BBC's The Repair Shop did. Stephen Mangan and Joan Bakewell present, and it's a new series, and 9 talented artists are competing in various rounds to be named Portrait Artist of the Year. It's just unshowy, there's no gimmick, and it's talented people doing their stuff.
Now it's that time of the programme for our regular city update with Ruth Sunderland, business editor at the Daily Mail. What's happening at Sainsburys?
Well, Mike Coop, who is the chief executive, has announced that he is stepping down. Now, Sainsburys would have you believe that this has absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with the fact that an attempt to merge with Sainsburys with Asda, in a multi-billion-pound deal fell through on his watch. Of course, that's got nothing to do with that.
No, quite. I mean, how much expense did that involve? And forward planning and all the rest of it?
Do you know what? I'm glad you asked me that. Sainsburys frittered away £50 million almost on advisors in the city, lawyers, investment bankers, PR people, all earning an absolute fortune. Not the kind of people that needs to chase the best value multi-pack buys, and all of this is money down the drain, and it's shareholders' money. It's actually our money, because most of us probably will have investment in Sainsburys through our pension funds or our ISAs.
Yeah, and we shop in Sainsburys, and I have no doubt it's put some of the prices up.
Well,
to recoup some of the losses.
Well, you'll never prove that,
No.
obviously. But, it raises a lot of questions because the supermarkets are having a difficult time at the moment. They're facing competition, and the mainstream supermarkets, we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
They're facing competition from Aldi and Lidl. They've got hefty business rates. They may be up against competition from online operators like Amazon are going to get into the grocery market. So it's tough times. And this merger was Mike Coop's attempt at solving some of those problems. It hasn't come off. He has paid the price.
That's Mike Coop. And has he gone already?
No, he's going in March.
Right. With a huge payoff?
Well, he will not be hard up.
Funny that. They make a monumental mess up, blunder, and yet they still walk away with a fat check in their pocket.
What do you think if we made a monumental blunder and wasted £50 million?
Well, even if we wasted
50p.
we'd be in trouble. Out the door.
We'd get told off, wouldn't we?
We would get told off. That's Ruth Sunderland on the latest problems at Sainsburys. Deputy Sports Editor Matt Gatwood was here with the latest sports news. Now, I got it wrong this time, didn't I? I shouldn't have made a prediction. It was about the Australian tennis, and the British number one's out, isn't he?
Yep, so Dan Evans has gone overnight. He's lost now, so we're just two Brits standing. So Evans was very disappointing in his match. He was playing against the 71st ranked player, Nishioka, who's just 24. He's never been this far in a Grand Slam before, to the third round. So Dan Evans threw away a good chance.
Because he was a seed, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was seeded. He was 30th seed, so he should have, so in terms of, who should have won, it should have been Evans. He said he went into the game feeling the effects of the first round game and his build-up. He felt maybe he'd played too much tennis in the build-up, and he obviously had a 5-set match in the first round. Exactly. You think,
that's his job, isn't it?
You've got to whack a ball about, mate. That's what you do for a living.
Yeah,
so
you get paid a lot of money for it.
Exactly. So he misjudged it. He's gone out. So we're just two Brits standing there. So we've got Heather Watson, who's in the second round overnight, so we'll know how she's got on tomorrow, and Harriet Dart early tomorrow morning as well. So just two women left in the draw for the Brits.
Isn't one of those Brits playing the number one seed or something, or the number two seed or something?
Watson's got a tough task. 16th seed, I think. I think they both got tough. When we talk tomorrow, there will definitely be none left. I think we're fairly confident in that.
Right. Now, football, Arsenal. Last gasp, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was good. It was a fantastic game last night, end to end. Arsenal were down to 10 men for 60 minutes.
Why? Somebody sent off?
Someone sent off. David Luiz was sent off against his former club, Chelsea. Now, normally at Arsenal over the last few years, when they go down to 10 men, they fold, they capitulate, and they would have got hammered. But they did incredibly well, actually, the 10 men. They fought back to get a 2-2 draw. They went 1-0 down. Then they equalised.
Chelsea's ground?
At Chelsea's ground. Got it back to 2-1. And then got a late equaliser to make it 2-2, as you said. So, a remarkable effort. So, although Arteta's struggling to get victories, he is at least sort of improving the resilience and the character of the side. And one lad who did really well, a lad called Gabriel Martinelli, who's just 18, who scored one of Arsenal's goals, looks a real prospect, and there's already some of the big clubs sniffing around him.
All right, and finally in cricket, Kevin Peterson says they've got to look after Jeffrey Archer or we're going to lose him. What's all that about then?
Well, a very interesting interview done by Martin Samuel in the Daily Mail, where Kevin Peterson talking about how when you're an outsider coming into the England team, which obviously he was, being essentially from South Africa, although obviously had an English mum. Jeffrey Archer similarly brought up in the Caribbean system with an English dad playing for England, but Peterson sees signs of the kind of different, it's one rule for them, one rule for another kind of thing that he experienced. He never felt fully integrated into the England side. Obviously, it all ended horribly for him in an England shirt when he was basically sacked. And he's saying if England don't treat Jofra the right way, he'll turn around and walk out on them and just play franchise cricket. So he sees signs of what happened to him happening with Jofra, and he's in a good position to say, although it remains to be seen whether Jofra is quite the maverick individual that Peterson was during his career.
They wouldn't want to lose him, would they?
Oh, they'd hate to lose him. And England's stance is, no, we're doing everything we can. We're looking after him brilliantly. Thank you very much, Kevin Peterson. Right. Keep out of our affairs. We're very happy with what we're doing. And to be fair, Jofra's not gone public and saying they're not looking after me. It's just Peterson says he sees signs. So, but yeah, of course they'd hate to lose him to franchise cricket. But, sometimes that's where the money is. But the England Test team do pay very well. So hopefully they hang on to him when he stays.
All right, that's Deputy Sports Editor Matt Gatswood. Now, as much of a third of us struggle to nod off at night, not me, I can tell you, but with insomnia leading to a greater risk of depression, lowered immunity and even type 2 diabetes, what can we do to make sure we get enough shut-eye? Well, 50 experts in the subject have offered some simple tricks to help boost sleep with ironically, switching off sleep apps coming top of the list. Other suggestions include avoiding hot water bottles and wearing amber-tinted glasses. Now, to help make sense of all of this is University of Hertfordshire professor and author of Night School, Richard Wiseman. Professor Wiseman, is the solution as easy as faking a yawn before bed or working on a jigsaw puzzle?
Well, there's lots of things going on with sleep. It's quite complicated, but certainly there are very simple things that we can all do to increase the chances of getting a good night's sleep. And certainly the idea of working on a jigsaw puzzle isn't bad before you go to bed, just to occupy your mind a little bit. The best use of a jigsaw puzzle, though, is if during the night you wake up for more than 10 minutes, don't lay in bed. Don't continue to lay there, because otherwise you start to associate your bed with being awake and being anxious. Get up and do something very simple, like colouring in, one of those colouring in books or a jigsaw puzzle, and then go back to bed. And again, if for another 10 minutes you can't sleep, get up and try it again, all in low light. So these are very simple things, but they can make a very big difference to the good night's sleep we get.
What's the significance of wearing coloured glasses? You can't wear them in bed. You might break them.
And you've got your eyes shut as well, so it probably won't do much good. So the problem at the moment, and the reason why we're seeing an epidemic of sleeplessness, is really smartphones and tablets. They give out a huge amount of light, and it's towards the blue end of the spectrum, which disrupts the production of melatonin in the brain, which we need to sleep. And what's interesting about amber-tinted glasses is they take out that blue light. And actually, low-energy light bulbs give it out as well. So if you've got one of those bathrooms that's really well lit and you're sort of bombarding yourself with that just before you go to bed, it's not a great idea. So just turning down the levels of light, wearing those glasses, but definitely keeping away from those smartphones and tablets in the hour or so before you go to bed, all good ideas.
And tell me about the sleep app, because it must be some rich irony that people like you are saying, actually, sleep apps may keep us awake. I don't even know, to be honest, Professor Wiseman, what a sleep app is. So can you explain why perhaps we should keep away from them or turn them off?
Well, there's various sleep apps. Most of them are just monitoring you during the night, with the idea being that they sort of wake you up when you're in light sleep rather than deep sleep. First of all, there's a question mark as to whether they work. They tend to be using movement, so often they're on the bed with you. And the other is sometimes they're next to you like a kind of sophisticated alarm clock. One of the biggest issues is that if you have your smartphone next to you on the bedside table, then during the night you wake up and you think, I just checked my email or just check social media or whatever it is, and again you're getting a blast of that blue light. So that's one of the reasons why they're really not such a great idea. Second is that they kind of remind you constantly about sleeplessness and the fact that you're struggling to sleep. So they, ironically, potentially can make you even more anxious. So I would jettison those and see how it goes, and just try with very simple ideas. If you've got some worries on your mind before you go to bed, jot them down rather than lay there worrying about them. If you are concerned about something, you can't get the idea out of your head, try counting back from 100 in threes. That kind of occupies your mind. So all these very simple things rather than high-tech solutions.
And what about the old-fashioned ways like a milky drink or chamomile tea?
Yeah, not bad ideas, as long as it's not too much of it. Otherwise, you will end up getting up in the middle of the night for all sorts of reasons. And also just keeping any food or drink content fairly low. You certainly, milk's not a bad one. There's no truth to the idea that if you have a little bit of cheese, that's going to lead to certain types of dreams. But yeah, a little bit of food doesn't hurt. You might want to keep away from hot water bottles. That's obviously a traditional approach. But the problem is they can overheat you. And so actually our core temperature does drop a little bit during the night, and that's best for a good night's sleep. And sometimes, too heavy a duvet or a water bottle or even actually somebody else too close to you can heat you up a little bit too much. So these are simple things for sleep hygiene, but they do have a really dramatic impact.
All right, that's Professor Richard Wiseman on the best way to get a good night's sleep. Now, what do you know about Ultrapreneurs, if I've pronounced that correctly? Because a growing number of older people are prolonging their working lives by setting up their own businesses. The number of self-employed people aged 65 and over has more than doubled in the past 15 years to almost 500,000. 100,000. With me now is the Daily Mail's own Chief Money Mail reporter, Amelia Murray. Why are they, these silver startups, on the rise?
Well, that age group seems to be expanding. So actually it's kind of, it is growing. I think we're living longer. If you look at kind of ONS statistics, you can see like life expectancy is also getting longer. And I think because we're living longer, it's also like the landmarks of life are kind of being pushed back as well. So people actually kind of want to work because, you know, they're healthier, they've got more energy. Lots of people I spoke to kind of weren't ready to give up work when retirement sort of came a-knocking. Lots of people actually decided they'd learnt enough during their working life. They built up a bank of contacts and they were ready to kind of give back. It's not just also like a financial incentive. Right. Lots of people were actually like, well, now is the time to sort of like do things that I want to do rather than kind of be a slave to the man. Yeah, that's interesting. And would you say it's more women doing this than men? I haven't seen a split. Right. I've spoken to both men and women. And it's really interesting the kind of things that people are choosing to do, because in some cases, you know, people are kind of, you know, itching to get back to work like a few months after retirement and almost set up an entirely new enterprise. I spoke to one guy who'd been working in like the heating industry all his life and then decided to invent a new heating product and actually kind of runs this business. He's like 73 and runs it. He's got a house in Tenerife and he sort of answers all the customer service calls like from the swimming pool. As you do. Yeah, so he's sort of, you know, got the best of both worlds. Yeah. And at the same time, I've spoken to people who are kind of more on a smaller scale where they might be a bit creative or crafty and they're sort of making things to sell, like dolls' houses, or people sort of set up baking companies and are kind of, doing that like on the side. It's amazing, really, because when you consider we just had these employment figures showing record number of people in work, record the unemployment figures are the best since about 1973, and now we've got all this great huge 500,000 people starting up their own businesses. And are the businesses succeeding, Amelia, or do some of them go under? So there's some amazing figures actually looking at like older people who start up businesses. It's like a 70% success rate for startups of older people like beyond 3 years, and that compares to like 28% in terms of success rates for younger people. So there seems to be like maybe skills or confidence and maturity and perhaps not going to make such rash decisions. Well, exactly, all about kind of considering risk, which I think is really interesting. But I think it all depends on what you actually want from it. You know, is it like an extension of a side hustle where you're, you know, using a bit of your savings to kind of, you know, do something once a month just to keep busy and to keep your like mind active, or are you actually sort of, you know, going the whole hog and setting something up? But there's also like really interesting research about how good it is for you to kind of keep busy and active in retirement, in terms of sort of for your short-term memory and like cognitive ability. I'm sure that's right. It's to do with like meaningful activity is something I've seen like discussed a lot in research, which keeps you well. Well, fascinating. Hope for me then in my retirement. Oh, is that, not that I'm planning it just yet, but you never know. You never know. It's not your side hustle, Andrew. You know. That's Amelia Murray, Chief Money Mail reporter. Well, that's all we've got time for today. For the latest from the Daily Mail newsroom, come back every day for briefings at 7 a.m, 12 noon and, of course, 5 p.m, where you can listen to me all over again. That's all from me, Andrew Pearce from The Daily Show. I'll be back tomorrow. Have yourselves a great evening and good night.